First of all, this build doesn't need Progenesis. Secondly, this is a Bodyswap Ignite Chieftain that I used to farm Simulacrums in hardcore. And I walked into Simulacrum at level 72, and I didn't leave until level 96, when I eventually just died to a combination of me picking a really dangerous wave, and me also choosing to use none of my mitigations to coast as the strongest attack. In essence though, this is actually a Hinakora's Death Fury build, which uses the Explode node from Chieftain, grabs a lot of Global Ignite chance, grabs Global Ignite Prolift from the gloves, and then uses the damage from that to actually clear the Simulacrums. Because of this node, I'm able to scale almost entirely into defenses. The best offensive skill when you're doing that is usually corpse skills. A lot of people like to play Detonate Dead. I'm choosing to play Bodyswap Ignite though, because that it better enables Ramako's Sunlight, which makes enemies fire res -20 when you are stationary. When you're body swapping, you're always stationary, but it still benefits from being a corpse scaling skill with immense baseline damage. The tree for this build is actually one of the ugliest things I've ever seen. It starts at Marauder and ends over at Eldritch Battery and some of the corpse stuff here, but they just happen to be the most efficient nodes for this particular setup. I also really like Eldritch Battery because I'm too lazy to figure out mana on most of my builds, so that's sort of that. Defensively, this is a 90% all res build because of Valaco Storm's Embrace. There's a lot of really cheap ways to achieve 90 max res. I'm doing on this build with a combination of 3 tattoos. One here, and one here, the Namahu Makangas with Warrior's Tail, and this gives you +6 max fire res. These two nodes give me +3, and then I'm using a Purity of Fire that's also in my helmet, which gives me a level 23 effective Purity of Fire. In terms of mitigating physical damage, I'm using a lot of physical damage taken as, so that's on my Dawnbreaker. I have Cloak of Flame on here, which also gives me the added benefit of good ignite duration, which is really important when you're relying on the explode and consistency there. And then I also use a Watcher's Eye for another 11%. The biggest thing about this build that makes it really OP for Simulacrum is Defiance of Destiny. This basically makes you invincible to any small hits. It is probably one of the most underrated items in the entire game right now. In my opinion, this item is actually stronger than Blood Notch Mutable because the recovery that gain 39% of missing life is immediate. It happens right away. There's no like recoup or regeneration mechanic. Furthermore, it can also be paired with recoup, so they'll have 2 forms of recovery that actually synergize really well with each other. There's actually not a whole lot else I want to go through on this particular setup, because in my opinion, this wasn't really well built in my head. I took a core concept and I thought it'd be okay defensively, but it's missing a lot of things like suppression, and I want to have elemental shift because of dealing with penetration in both Simulacrum and in new bosses. So when I reconstruct that build today, I'm probably going to do a bunch of different things, and I'm definitely going to go for Flamewood. So last night I actually did a lot of boss testing with Black Zenith and Flamewood, and I think it's actually one of the better, more well-rounded setups. It's really easy to 7 out of 7 on. And just like corpse skills, I think Flamewood is really good at getting high base damage while still having a really defensive character. So I'm going to use that to start out this as an ignite build and eventually go into a hit build using Black Zenith. And hopefully that'll be a much more well-rounded build.